Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andrew Faulkner for R-CADE Glasgow, and this is yesterday's news. The third title in the Final Fantasy series finally saw its way to the UK 27 years after its initial release in Japan back in 1990. The game was ported to the American SNES in '94 under the title Final Fantasy VI, but never saw its way to the UK in its original form. This 2007 Nintendo DS release was not simply a remake like the Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy I releases on the Game Boy Advance, but a full 3D remake with all new audio. Final Fantasy III was the first game in the series to feature a job change system, allowing players to choose their classes and customise their party. The story follows 4 orphans on their journey to restore balance to the world they inhabit, after the Crystal of Light bestows powers upon them. The grandfather of simulation racing games came to the PlayStation 1 in Japan on December 23, 1997, and was eventually released for the European and American markets in mid-May 98. The game gave players the chance to race authentic, licensed road legal and sport variants of everyday cars on a series of real-life tracks from around the world. It was lauded as the greatest racing game of its generation and spawned a series of 10 spin-offs and sequels. It also holds the record for the best-selling PlayStation 1 game of all time. First published by American company Simon & Schuster Interactive in its initial year, before being distributed digitally by its own Icelandic developer CCP Games, EVE Online is a space-based MMORPG and one of the oldest surviving games of its genre. The game contains a shared world of nearly 8,000 star systems and is responsible for some of the largest gaming battles in the history of video games. For example, the Bloodbath of B-R5RB, a battle involving thousands of players in a single star system, took 21 hours to complete. At its peak in 2013, EVE Online reached a subscriber count of over 500,000 subscribers, and just 3 years later added a limited free-to-play Model 2. Video games publisher Infogrames was first established in June 1983 in Lyon, France. Through the late 90s and into the 2000s, they would proceed to acquire veteran games companies like Ocean, Gremlin and Accolade, with the aim of becoming the largest super publisher in Europe. This period of growth through acquisition would also see them purchase American company Hasbro Gaming in 2001, and as such gain use of the Atari brand. In 2003, they announced the worldwide rebranding of Infogrames, with many of their subsidiaries changing into the classic and well-known Atari Inc. The popular American card game played worldwide since the 70s came to Xbox Live Arcade in 2006, before being released on several different platforms including PS3, PSP, Windows, Wii, DS, Switch, as well as various Apple products and even Google Stadia. Taking the core gameplay from the physical game and adding in DLC like custom card packs, Uno was met with favourable reviews from most critics. In 2016, Rooster Teeth's Achievement Hunter created a simple Let's Play video of the game, which through the power of the internet soon became a 2 3/4 hour long film, which ended up topping the IMDb comedy feature films list with a perfect score. Six months after its PlayStation release, the sequel to the critically acclaimed Burnout by Criterion Games found its way to both the original Xbox and Nintendo GameCube. The racing game kept its main gameplay element of high-speed, high-stakes racing against the clock or AI opponents from the first installment, but added new modes like Crash or Pursuit. A developer's cut version of the game was released specifically for the original Xbox and included content like car skins, more tracks, and an Xbox Live leaderboard. The publisher responsible for the release of the game, called Acclaim, would actually go bankrupt the following year, but not before causing controversy by offering consumers refunds on their speeding tickets to help promote the game's release. Developed by the team behind the SNES title Yoshi's Island, this entry into the series tells the story of Baby Bowser casting a spell on their happy little island, causing it to turn into a bizarre pop-up storybook. Originally intended for the N64 floppy drive add-on the 64DD, the game was quickly moved back to the main console in time for a late '97 release in Japan. It did not review well and was outed as too easy, too simple and too short, with most critics were simply not sold on the 2D nature of the platforming within a 3D landscape, especially at a time when the console gaming was moving in more of a 3D trajectory with Crash Bandicoot, Croc, Spyro and even Big N's Plumber himself. That was yesterday's news. I've been Andrew Faulkner, thank you for watching, we'll see you next time.